Welcome to a new week of our daily devotionals. And this week I want us to think about standing firm. This is a phrase that is used quite a few times through the New Testament in lots of different contexts, lots of different ways. And I thought it would be fun and interesting to focus in on some of those things, and hopefully quite challenging as well. I suppose it refers back to Jesus's really well-known story that's often sung about in Sunday school of the wise and the foolish builders. The wise person builds on the rock, and when the storms come, the house stands firm. But the foolish builder builds on sandy ground, and when the storms come, the house is washed away and it's a disaster. And Jesus concludes that if we base our lives on his teachings, we will be like the person building on that firm foundation, building on the rock. So today's stand firm comes from Paul's second letter to the Thessalonians, chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. I'm going to read it for us now. But we ought always to thank God for you, brothers and sisters loved by the Lord, because God chose you as the first fruits to be saved through the sanctifying work of the Spirit and through belief in the truth. He called you to this through our gospel, that you might share in the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. So then, brothers and sisters, stand firm and hold fast to the teachings we passed on to you, whether by word of mouth or by letter. May our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God our Father, who loved us and by his grace gave us eternal encouragement and good hope, encourage your hearts and strengthen you in every good deed and word. So Paul is in the midst of this letter to the church at Thessalonica, a church that he'd planted, that he'd founded himself. He hadn't spent very long there because he got drummed out of town. People really didn't like him. But that little church had remained faithful. And here Paul thanks God for three things in the lives of those Christians. Firstly, that they've been chosen by God. Secondly, that they've been saved by God. And thirdly, that they have been called by God. He chose you. He saved you. He called you. Those are words for us to feed on, that nourish us, that can actually strengthen us and do us good. Whatever we're going through this week, this Monday, another Monday, as we carry on through the changes and the challenges of the coronavirus, to know that God has chosen us, saved us, called us. The writer of Ecclesiastes, a book of wisdom in the Old Testament, says that a three-stranded cord cannot be easily broken. And I love these promises or these phrases that come in threes. We are chosen, we are saved, we are called. God shows us his love. And there's another three-stranded cord, or if you like, an unpacking of those three ideas, because Paul then carries on. He talks about the Thessalonians being loved by the Lord, sanctified, made holy, made righteous through the Spirit, and sharing in the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. What an amazing promise that is held out to us. So let's look there at those three things. Loved by the Lord, shown to us by what God has already done for us, choosing us, saving us through Jesus' death and calling us into a relationship with him. Love is something that has already happened to us as well as continuing on. It's a kind of past complete action. God's love is for us. We've been loved by the Lord. Secondly, we are being sanctified through the Spirit. Our lives are being transformed. We're being made holy. It is a long process, isn't it? I wonder what God is teaching you through this time in your life. For me, he's teaching me again and again to rely on him and to have patience My goodness, I need to learn those lessons, but he's teaching me to rely on him, to have patience, and that is part of the sanctifying work of the Spirit, being made more holy, more Christ-like. So loved by the Lord in the past, sanctified through the Spirit in the present, and we will share in the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. That is to come, isn't it? That promise of heaven, that hope that I think has come so sharply into focus through this time. So that cord of 3 strands, he chose us, he saved us, he called us, and another cord of 3 strands, if you like, that we are loved, that we are being sanctified, that we will share in the glory. So hold fast to the teaching, stand firm, Paul says. Stand firm in your identity, knowing whose you are and to whom you belong, and in what God has done, is doing, and will do in your life. These are words that can give us a good foundation, a solid foundation, and enable us to stand firm. Let's go back to Paul for the final words again of that reading for encouragement. May our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God our Father, who loved us and by his grace gave us eternal encouragement and good hope, may he encourage your hearts and strengthen you in every good deed and word. Stand firm.